Well, yeah, Scott, we started trying to piece together information on this incident after we were contacted yesterday about the existence of the video, which again, some may find hard to watch, and we just learned new details this afternoon. Now, we're being told that the incident actually occurred on Monday in one of the classrooms there at the Hutch Tech High School in downtown Buffalo. And now we have an edited version where you can actually apparently see a student approach the district employee. Then the video shows apparent punches thrown by the student. The employee appears to try to push the student back. Other students heard on that phone video in the background as eventually the student appears to knock or push the man down. And then after an exchange of comments, he appears to go to the door of the classroom. Now today, right there, we interviewed the president of the Buffalo Education Support Team, actually the union representing teachers' aides and teaching assistants. We looked at the video with her, and she said that apparently the student came in late as the teaching assistant was covering for a teacher. And then she told us of a very surprising turn in this situation, which she relates back to the school board and the district.
He's trying to defend. He stepped back. He wasn't even trying to swing at the kid. And I don't know what's going to outcome is, but to get punched like that, a 68-year-old man, that's not nice. Because that could have been anybody, grandfather, father. We don't want to see stuff like that happen in the school system. And this kid didn't look like no small kid. He's on leave by the Board of Education because they're saying that they're charging him with child abuse.
That's what they're telling you. He was charged with child abuse?
They're doing an investigation, yes.
Because of this particular incident?
I haven't gotten
to hear this.
I haven't gotten any reports or anything saying that he has ever been in any trouble. And if he has, nobody has told me. If everybody say the video is what it is, then he should be back to work soon.
Hey, well, the school district sent out this statement. The district is aware of an incident that occurred on Monday, June 15th at PS 304, that's Hutch Tech. A staff member has been placed on paid administrative leave pending an investigation. And again, we cannot comment further at this time. Nothing further from the school district today after that first statement yesterday, and they cannot discuss the status of the student involved. Now, the union president says she and the teaching assistant will eventually appear before district HR officials. She told me the employee did contact police, but no response to us so far from Buffalo Police, and Carter could not discuss the employee's physical condition. On your side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
Two on Your Side has reviewed internal communications sent out by Board of Education President Dr. Kathy Evans Brown. In a message sent to the board on June 4th, it says, quote, "It has been brought to the attention of board leadership that an allegation has been lodged against a board member. Such matters are taken seriously, and to protect the integrity of the review process, we must maintain confidentiality at this time." Later on, Dr. Evans Brown says that she was informed of the allegations on June 2nd. General counsel for the board advised that the board seek outside counsel before excusing herself from representing the board in the matter, and suggested they hold an executive session. On June 9th, board member Larry Scott asked who was conducting this review process. He then said to Dr. Evans Brown that, quote, "It is my understanding that you are privy to the allegation or allegations. Please share them with the board." Board member Cindy McGuigan also replied, asking if the accused board member has been able to participate in board activities since the allegation was made, and, quote, "It is atypical for the board to wait 2 weeks for notification of such an issue, especially one that requires a review process. Who made this decision and why?" Multiple sources have confirmed with Two on Your Side that there has been multiple allegations of sexual harassment against a member of the Board of Education. The name of that board member has not been shared, at least in the emails reviewed by Two on Your Side. At this time, it is not clear if the official complaint that has been filed with the board has been shared with the entire board. Dr. Evans Brown replied to the board on Wednesday, June 10th, saying in part, quote, "Between June 2nd and 6th, the leadership team sought outside consultation with the New York State School Boards Association to discern action moving forward." In an attempt to justify keeping the information from board members, Dr. Evans Brown said, quote, "I also did not want the information to be leaked to the news, as it has been in recent past despite confidentiality clauses. District policy regarding sexual harassment in the workplace clearly outlines that, quote, "An investigation of any complaint, information, or knowledge of suspected sexual harassment will be prompt and thorough, commenced immediately, and completed as soon as possible." More than 10 plus days after Dr. Evans Brown says she was notified of the complaint, a formal investigation has not been launched, and a special meeting focused on these allegations was scheduled for Friday morning, was canceled Thursday night after the board clerk confirmed that a proper quorum could not be called to legally hold the meeting.
I've never seen so much positivity. And in the world of social media, I mean, it's like no holds barred. But the response was great. It was exactly what we wanted. We wanted residents and people in the community to know that, we were taking this seriously.
In Cattaraugus County, the Allegheny Town Board is enacting a law to prevent the development, construction, and operation of data centers and cryptocurrency data mining facilities. The town supervisor says he believes these centers could pose a threat to the health, safety, and well-being of residents, and encourages other municipalities to consider adopting similar legislation to shut down data center proposals.
Looking at Western New York, there's a lot of wide open vacant land, and a developer might look at that and say, hey, this makes sense for a data center. And the longer people wait to do something about it, I mean, the higher the likelihood that something like this pops up in their backyard.
All 5 members of the Allegheny Town Board voted in support of this law. Meanwhile, on Tuesday in Niagara County, officials in North Tonawanda could approve a 12-month extension of a temporary moratorium on data centers.
Moratoriums can only go so long. It's not a permanent solution. It's a temporary solution to basically hit the brakes and figure things out.
Mayor Austin Tylik says there's an ongoing effort from the plant manager of an existing cryptocurrency mining facility on Erie Avenue. Leaders at DigiPower want to convert the building into an AI data center.
We've had a bad run of it, especially those surrounding neighborhoods. And I think we're all taking that into account when we're looking at the zoning code updates citywide and what kind of restrictions do we need to put in place so, these burdens don't really happen again.
The story begins last fall when a contractor doing some utility site work for the Niagara Falls Water Board in advance of it replacing a main water line here made a discovery.
According to the DEC, it was a chemical odor in the ground. State Assemblyman Angelo Morinello, who represents this area, says he then got a visit from the DEC commissioner.
Explained to me that they had been alerted that there's a potential issue dealing with contaminants on the one end of the island.
The agency says testing revealed traces of chemicals in excess of what they're comfortable with for residential areas and contaminants which may be consistent with industrial fill, which their records show was used to build out the far western part of the island in the 1950s and 60s. Out of what it calls an abundance of caution, the DEC seeks to get onto people's properties to do additional testing. Morinello hopes residents will cooperate.
As an attorney, I was always taught, identify the problem, come up with a solution. If you can't identify the extent of the issue, you're not going to come up with a solution.
But not all residents are on board.
Absolutely not.
Gary Delora is a former FBI agent with a background in metals and organic compounds and says he was involved with a lot of the Bureau's work surrounding the Love Canal disaster in the 70s and 80s. He also says he did his own investigation when he bought property here 30 years ago, and that soil tests then and since have found compounds at no higher levels than you'd find elsewhere in this historically industrial city.
There is nothing that they found that is damaging, that the people have to worry about.
Nor did it seem to be a worry for these guys over here digging in the ground without any protective clothing.
On your side in Niagara Falls, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
Rex Huerman was called a demon and many other things when he was sentenced today. Huerman was an architect who lived 2 lives because he was later convicted as the Go-Go Beach serial killer. Before he was sentenced to multiple life terms, he had to see his victims' families and hear from them. He admitted to killing a total of 8 women. One of them was 24-year-old Melissa Barthelemy. She was from Buffalo and later lived in the Bronx before she was tragically murdered in July 2009. In 2011, I spoke with her mom after Melissa's remains were found. She was relieved holding her daughter's photo. At the sentencing, it was Melissa's sister, Amanda Funderburg, addressing the court. She described her sister as a fighter for love, for family, for a better life. And to Huerman, she said, "You can look at me while I'm talking. I hope you suffer to the fullest extent." Repulsive monster, she called him, a demon inside and out. I hope you take a spot in hell.
You murdered my sister, and the things I do to you are far worse than anything you've ever done to anyone or even thought of. And just because you have a few fans, remember, you are hated by so many. I know everyone spoke on heaven But do me a favor, save me a spot in hell, because I'll see you there.
And we heard from him.
There are no words I can say. I am responsible for what was said in this room today.
Outside of court, we heard from other victims' families.
I feel a lot lighter, and I have hope for healing. This has been a long day coming, and from this day forward, stop saying his name, stop putting his face everywhere. Put the girl's face, put their names, and make it known that we are the ones who live on for them. Rex will never matter, and he is nothing to us, and it should be nothing to any of you.
The judge was direct.
And you're a coward. It's essentially what you serve the rest of your life without the possibility of parole.
Yes, Scott, well, for the first time since April of 2025, Peyton Gendron actually appeared in the courtroom today. He is 22 years old now. He wore a blue shirt, gray slacks, glasses, and his hair is now cropped short. Meanwhile, today, the first 130 out of roughly 1,200 potential jurors came to federal court where, after receiving instructions from the judge, they filled out a lengthy questionnaire about their backgrounds. Additional groups of similar size will do the same thing for about the next 2 weeks. After that, those left eligible will come back in August for individual questioning, with testimony in the trial scheduled to start in October. Meanwhile, death penalty opponents were outside the courthouse. One of them told me he was surprised that the Justice Department under then-President Biden pursued a death penalty case here when Biden himself was against capital punishment.
It disappointed me, as a matter of fact. I mean, Biden on his last day had commuted the sentence of many people on death row.
What do you think the exception to the Biden rule is in this case?
I think that it was a racist mass shooting. Now, the other thing, too, is we can turn around and look at the Q Club shooting in Colorado, where a gay club was shot up and I forgot how many people were murdered. They just took the death penalty off the table in that case and allowed him to plead to federal charges of murder, etc., and life sentences. So why is that different? That was a hate crime. Why is it different from this hate crime?
Early on in his federal case, Gendron, through his attorneys, did offer to plead guilty if the death penalty was taken off the table. That is something the government has thus far declined to do. The judge also spoke about the weighty responsibility that will fall to those who are eventually selected for this case, because in a case like this, they will decide not only the question of guilt, but also they, and not the judge, will decide whether Peyton Gendron would live or die for his crimes if he is convicted. The trial, once it gets underway with testimony in October, is expected to last between 3 and 4 months. On your side in downtown Buffalo, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
It's a situation no property owner wants to be in. Delinquent on taxes, with the city saying the bill has come due. Kathleen Lewis is one of 3,000 owners grappling with that scenario in Niagara Falls.
It's 22 and 23. That mounts up to $8,200, which is totally out of my reach.
A number of factors contributing to each situation, whether on a fixed income, a delinquent owner, or dealing with a botched property sale. Lewis is seeking to resolve the issue with plans to cut back on spending, but the $8,000 total up front, due at the end of the month, is concerning.
This is not something that any municipal government wants to have to do, but in equity, it's something that I think they necessarily must do.
The mayor says the money owed is 1/3 of their 2026 budget, a total that's been building over the past 7 years, according to Jordan Majensky, managing attorney of the housing unit at the Western New York Law Center.
The city of Niagara Falls used to have a tax foreclosure auction every year. When COVID hit, there was a moratorium in place for a couple years. Right at the end of the moratorium, there was a Supreme Court challenge to the collection of surplus funds that needed to be shared with the homeowner. Otherwise, it was an unconstitutional taking.
It's how the city of Niagara Falls is now moving forward with that process that has prompted concerns. Lewis says the city has allowed little room for negotiations, with the threat of foreclosure threatening city residents.
Just like to be able to sit down with them and work out a payment plan and try to catch up on this.
There comes a point in time where some people, if they're eligible, could even discuss, tax payments within a limited window. But we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
On your side in Niagara Falls, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
Hey there. Well, after surveying a large portion of the southern tier and parts of Erie County, some good news I can report tonight is that there's not a large area of damage, but of course there are some outliers. Not everyone came out of those warning storms unscathed. In the town of Holland, one homeowner is dealing with the aftermath of this morning's severe weather. Crews were at his Holland home for about 3 hours after part of a tree fell around 9 a.m. this morning, just nearly missing the house but taking parts of the gutter with it. We spoke to officials in areas like Randolph and Salamanca who had really just little damage to report today. And we did come across this downed tree in the Perrysburg-Gowanda border, which also took out a power line as well. And speaking of those power lines, we know a large number of people were dealing with some power outages this morning and maybe earlier today. NYSEG officials say they had been working all day to take care of all of those customers that may have reported that. On your side in the town of Holland, Alyssa Clausell, Channel 2 News.
For Jack Kavanaugh, making sure LGBTQ plus youth have community support is crucial.
One of the things we talk about a lot is really giving youth an opportunity to understand that they're part of a larger community, that there's a world that exists. Because for a lot of them, when they're in high school especially, they might be the only LGBTQ student at their school. There might be a couple. And so it can feel really isolating and alone, particularly if they don't have a supportive home life. And so obviously having access to safe and affirming relationships, peer supports, things like that are critically important. But also just being able to show them that there's a whole world for them. There's safe, healthy, and happy adults who share identities with them, who live life successfully.
Kavanaugh is the executive director of the Pride Center of Western New York and GLIS, which serves LGBTQ plus youth, their families, and their caregivers.
So our main program is always our drop-in center. It's been running pretty continuously since we started as an organization 43 years ago. Currently, it's open after school Tuesdays and Thursdays for youth 13 to 17.
There's also a family support group, a youth support group, and access to case management and support, mental health services, and more.
For youth that need a little bit of that extra, more formal support, they're able to access our case manager, a mental health counselor from Best Self, as well as peer supports, all on site. A lot of young people need help with housing, food access, particularly as they're aging out of high school. What does that look like? Getting jobs. And so we're able to, really provide that support there as well, because, really it's a suicide prevention program. And so when you're connected to community, you have safe housing, work, home life, all of those things, the risk of suicide goes down significantly.
GLIS also hosts Pride Alive at Babeville after the Pride Parade every year, a family and youth-oriented event with games and resources.
What's it like to see people making connections like that?
Oh, it's great. It's one of the most fun parts, being able to see. And our numbers have grown up so much over the past year or two, really. And so sometimes we'll have 30, 40 kids that are coming after school just to connect and build social relationships and just sort of be themselves. And one of the things we talk about is just making sure it's a space where no one has to leave any part of themselves at the door when they walk in. They can be their full selves, whatever that looks like. And there's not a lot of spaces where they can do that, unfortunately.
What began as a grassroots celebration in 1976 has grown into one of the largest Juneteenth festivals in the nation, attracting more than 20,000 people every year. Marcus Brown has been with Juneteenth Buffalo from the start. Let's go back to 1976.
I stood there and I was amazed at seeing my people, the look on their faces, the happiness, the tears of just coming together as a family.
Something he says must continue because it's needed more now than ever before.
I never thought we could make it this far.
Why?
Through the grace of God. There's so many hurdles. People don't realize the work that it takes to have just a festival.
You were the young generation.
Yes, we
now
you're
the OGs.
Yeah, we're the OGs. So we know how it feels to be young and being involved in an organization for the first time.
And he's passing the festival coordinator torch to this woman.
Crystal Peacock, and I am the
Festival Coordinator Co-Chair for 2026 Juneteenth Festival, Inc.
Mr. Brown says he's passing the torch.
I am pretty sure that I'm going to grab it, you know.
And our young people should understand what Juneteenth is all about. I'm more concerned about them, and passing the torch and letting them see themselves. Because we are a great people. We have a lot of potential, and I think that potential hasn't been tapped. And I think we as seniors should work along with the youth to try to make sure that they can become all that they can be.
Juneteenth is the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the end of slavery in the United States. It marks the historic day in 1865 when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas, finally received word of their freedom. In 2021, Juneteenth was recognized as a federal holiday.
I was so surprised, and I called some of the OGs, the people that helped us, and some of the founders that were still around, and told them, and they were just as happy. You thought it was Juneteenth over again.
Welcome everybody here to our first annual Juneteenth celebration.
Buffalo was ahead of the game observing Juneteenth.
What's your favorite part of Juneteenth, Buffalo?
I would love to say the parade, but that's not it. It's just coming together as a community, seeing people love on each other.
Well, if you're looking to be the favorite child this Father's Day, then this might be a really great Father's Day gift, or even a Father's Day, birthday, holiday gift all combined, because that price tag is pretty big. But it is a chance to own a piece of Bills history before the old Highmark Stadium is almost completely gone. Wegmans is selling both seats, blue and red, as well as benches from the old Highmark Stadium for $650 each. Now, every piece comes with a certificate of authenticity, so you can prove that it was indeed inside the old Highmark Stadium. They're being sold at the McKinley Wegmans in Orchard Park, and a spokesperson for Wegmans told us that they expect to be sold out by Monday.
Anything that is memorabilia from the old Highmark Stadium is in high demand. So customers are really responding pretty well. Just saw a sale here of one of the benches. So they're going pretty quickly. So the supply is very limited.
While the seats will only be available at the McKinley Wegmans in Orchard Park, Wegmans will be selling official turf from the old Highmark Stadium at stores throughout the region. So if you're looking for a more low-key and less expensive option, those are going for about $100 a piece. Now, this is all taking place as the Bills are looking to move into their new chapter, begin their new chapter here at the new Highmark Stadium across the street. There's going to be a ribbon cutting for this stadium at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. On your side in Orchard Park, Natalie Foss, Channel 2 News.